We live in an era where depression has been glorified and totally accepted as being completely normal, and where a lot of individuals who are experiencing a phase of depression in their life are identify themselves with that suffering, and where they carry it as a badge of honor. And this, my friend, it is totally unacceptable. And this can never become the norm. And so therefore, in this video, I'm going to tell you everything that is bad about the culture of depression and why that's the wrong path to go as a society. And I'm going to tell you what to do instead. And it is becoming part of the culture and more accepted and more talked about. And especially among young generation such as the Gen X or the Gen Z, because they're no longer afraid to open up and raise awareness on mental health. And this is definitely a huge bettering of society as opposed as the previous generation who wasn't vocal about their depression or when they were feeling hopeless and despair. And as a result, there were a lot of dark souls who were being restraining instead of being unleashed. But this is where the danger is, because by doing that, it seems at first that it is positive, but by doing this, society and a lot of individuals are integrated depression and the fact of being depressed as something normal, as being the new normal. And it is almost really, I'm seeing it carried as a badge of honor. And as a society, as an individual who are there to live life, we cannot and we should never accept depression, being depressed, as being normal, as being regular. Because guess what? We are living being, and as a result, we are here to live. No matter what, we are here to live, we are here to rock in our life as long as we are alive. Because if we don't do that, and if we fall for the depression culture, if we fall for going down in the darkness, guess where are we going? We are going to crash. We are going to collapse, and we are straight up going to the wall. And we can't accept that. We can't tolerate that as individual, as a society, as a group, as whatever, as human being, right? It is just not possible, not acceptable. And now I'm talking to you about depression, but with depression, there's also other clinical condition and states that are also praised now in society. And I'm thinking about, for example, bipolar. It seems that there's more and more bipolar coming out of nowhere. Now, again, just like depression, I am not saying that this isn't real, that it doesn't exist, and that it is not a real suffering. But I'm just questioning it, why now there's more and more people who are labeling themselves as being bipolar, always having different form of autism. Because guys, depression, being bipolar, and having different form of autism, it is a minus for your life. It is a sort of a handicap. It is a condition that is blocking you to express your true self, to express your true potential, and to live the real life of yourself that you truly deserve. It is not a plus. It is not a benefit, and it should never be considered as such. I'm not saying that these things that is occurring into you personally, or for someone else, that it is not real, but it is not a condition that we can attach ourselves to. Because literally that's what I'm seeing now with a lot of people identify themselves with being a depressed person, with being a bipolar, with having a form of autism. It is more and more talked about. And no, honestly, it shouldn't be taken that way. You can be depressed, you can be bipolar, you can have a form of autism, but it should not identify who you are, because by clinging on it, by grabbing on those things that are a minus for you, it's only going to create more and more down for yourself instead of going up, instead of fighting with it, eventually living with it for a while. But you should never attach yourself and identify yourself with this condition. And really, I think the reason why it is occurring, it is because right now we are living into this world, we are living into this society where a lot of things are dark, where a lot of motivation is down. We live in a world that is very energy-less. So all of these conditions, they are matching this ambience, this atmosphere of the world. But again, it is not what we are made for as a human being, as an individual. We are here to live our life. We are here to express fully ourselves, and we are here on a mission. We all have a purpose, and we can't let depression or any condition, any factor affecting us like that and literally ruining us. It just can't happen like that. And what about you? Are you the one who are experiencing depression? And maybe you are also attaching yourself to that depression, to the fact that you are somehow glorifying it. Or maybe you have people around your circle who are also depressed and they are taking depression as being part of the culture. Let me know in the comment below. But if it happened to you, I want to let you know that depression, it is just a phase. And since it is a phase in your life, it can be overcome. And how you overcome depression? Simply by being way too ready. Way too ready, just like the way I am. And if you want to know what it takes and how to be way too ready, guess what? I've created an exclusive video that you can grab it by clicking into the link below. And coming back to this culture of depression, I think also another reason it is, like I said, the fact that now it is more and more openly talked about, and we are seeing a lot of content, a lot of different things that are actually approaching depression, where a lot of people suddenly they reveal that they are either depressed or they either had a depression in their life. And also a lot of famous people, a lot of celebrities, a lot of internet personality. I mean, now it is seriously, literally common to a point that it seems that almost everyone is depressed. And that, guys, it is a lie. It is false. And it is pretty much, just like these statements, this catchy title that you are seeing also these days a lot on YouTube, that says that everybody's broke. Now everybody do not have money and everybody's struggling financially. Guys, this is a lie. There's part of truth in this. Of course, we are having now tough times somehow in terms of economics, but it doesn't mean that everyone's broke, just like it doesn't mean that everyone is depressed. It is a fallacy, and we need to be very careful about that, because what we are seeing, if we do not have discernment, then eventually it will become the truth for us and it will become our reality. And I really believe that this is one of the top reasons also why now it seems that depression, it is something that is becoming part of the culture, part of a regular thing, part of being normal, because we are talking more and more about it and we are exposing this a little bit everywhere, and more people talking about depression. And when it comes about something, whether it is positive or negative, the more we talked about it, the more we are making it alive. And this is exactly what's happening again with that depression things or any other clinical condition. I was also talking about the form of autism. It seems that now a lot of people are suddenly finding into themselves a new form of autism or a new form of state with different acronym that is supposed to represent a certain behavior. I think that this is the same thing. It is dangerous to identify ourselves with those certain things, because this is blocking us, and this is not really truly ourselves. Because even though we are having a phase of depression in our life, we are currently depressed, or we have a certain disorder, this doesn't mean that this identified who we are. It is just a part of who we are. And when it comes about depression also, it is really important to understand that for the most part, when someone is depressed, I would say that he is experiencing depression. Just like me, I had short phase in my life where I actually did experience depression. But you know what? The difference with me and a lot of other people who were depressed is that I somehow always knew that I was in the middle of a phase where I was experiencing depression, which is a very different condition state than saying to yourself that you are depressed, that yourself, you are the depression. You know what I mean? Because I truly believe that for a lot of people also who are actually depressed, in reality, what's happening is that they do experience a phase of depression, a phase of darkness. And again, I'm not trying to minimize this, by saying that this is nothing, because this is not nothing. It is something that can literally go so far that you would have certain terrible idea about erasing yourself, basically. So I'm not saying that this is nothing, but if you do consider it as a phase, as a temporary time where you are into darkness, where you don't see the light after the tunnel, because basically you are stuck, you are completely stuck and blocked into your life, and you have a lot of dark thought, a lot of negativeness. I want to tell you that since it is a phase, it means that it is temporary. And if something is temporary, obviously it is not permanent, right? So if it's not permanent, it is not something normal, it is not part of the culture. So you should never identify yourself with depression, and you should never embrace the fact, even though you hear a lot of people maybe around you also who are being depressed, who are having a depression, having a very rough time at the moment, or whether it is coming from a different form of content where people are talking more and more about depression. Just because it's happening, it doesn't mean that it should splash on you. It doesn't mean that it should touch you, and it doesn't mean that it should become part of your identity, because you know what? You are stronger than that. You are way stronger than that. First of all, you are stronger than depression. You are not depression. No one in reality is depression. And also you can activate your discernment to realize that just because there's now a trend, a culture about depression, it doesn't mean that it is your reality though. It is a certain reality, a certain narrative that they do want to create, but it doesn't mean that it is your reality. And this is what will make the whole difference for you regarding depression, being depressed, or any type of other clinical condition or states or anything like that. And what about you? Let me know about your takes on this glorifying of depression, on this culture of depression that is currently happening around the world. Let me know all about. Let me know also if you fall for it, if you also activate your discernment, and as a result, just like me, you understand the same thing. Let me know in the comment below. If you do like this video, of course, give it a like, consider subscribing to the channel. And in today's video, I've covered on why you should never glorify and accept depression as being a normal state to be. But guess what? I made also a video on how to overcome depression that you can watch somewhere here. And until next time, definitely not depressed. I'll catch you up soon later.